All right, let's go to the defense, guys. Browns obviously got the ball, marched right down the field, scored, went up 7-0. We weren't totally shocked by that, obviously, but then, and of course, the Browns lost the toss. They seem to lose the coin toss every week. Maybe that's good luck. But what was shocking is the Jets got the ball, and they marched right down the field. The Browns defense, for one of the rare times this year, looked awful on that first drive. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, and not surprisingly, that was about it. The Jets didn't do that much. I think they had about 200 more yards. They ended up with 360 yards allowed. Some of that in garbage, a lot of that in garbage time at the end of the game, last couple of drives. But pretty much, obviously their other touchdown was that weird pick six, which was, I don't know, it wasn't a good throw by Flacco. It was a nice play.
It was a great play.
It was a phenomenal play.
I mean, he got him up in the air, and then
he still tipped it.
And he still got it.
What are you going to do? But that was it. I mean, they got one field goal right before the half, and then they got a field goal at garbage time. Defense outside of the first drive,
the first
was outstanding.
The first drive on defensively, it was kind of surprising. That's the thing. Every team got their first 15 scripted plays, okay?
Yeah.
So you come out there, and as a defense, your job is you're playing your base thing because you have to figure out how is this offensive coordinator going to attack our scheme. So you really want to try to withstand those first couple of drives to get to the first 15. Yeah. After that, you kind of see, all right, this is where they're scheming us at. We need to make some adjustments, and we'll stop everything. So that first play or that first drive, Breece Hall obviously was huge in that drive. He ran the ball well.
He's a really good player.
And then they knew that the Browns played man to man, and they came out with the 5 wide. Breece Hall ran the underneath route, got picked off, and that's how he ran in for the end zone. So it was just them understanding what the Browns was going to do. The Browns realized how they were going to attack, and they made some adjustments, and they kind of nipped the rest of that in the bud. The only shocking part is going into that game, you knew Breece Hall was literally their offense. So I thought that there should have been a premium on making sure that 20 don't stop us. Anybody else, we'll live with that. But Breece Hall can't be the one to stop us. And I think they kind of got to that point after that drive. But I would have opened the game up with that mindset.
You know what was funny is that on that drive, they had a long completion to Garrett Wilson against Emerson down the sideline.
Yeah.
It was like the second, maybe the first pass that Simeon threw. Mm-hmm. And then
it was.
I think the only other pass he threw more than 5 yards down the field was the one that got returned for the pick six. Everything else after that was a screen pass, basically, or, a 2 yard. I mean, it was because the Browns, Myles Garrett felt like was in the back. He did break his sack drought. He got a sack.
Yeah.
But it felt like he could have had 7 in this game. He was in the backfield the whole game.
That's coming into this game, you knew that. First of all, the Browns D-line is legit.
Yeah.
And the Jets offensive line is not that great. So you knew it was going to be a bunch of quick game.
Yeah.
And it was going to have to be screens. That's the only way you can offset if your offensive line can't protect you. You got to get rid of the ball quick, or you got to run a screen game. And the Browns did a really good job of adjusting to that. And that's when the coverage got tighter, and now you can't really make those quick passes.
You know what was interesting to me is Ronnie Hickman played so well in Juan Thornhill's absence. They can't get him off the field now.
No.
He was still playing.
he
had
was.
the pick six last night.
They went back to the 3 safety.
I think he had 60% of the snaps. I
didn't look at the snap count.
I saw it earlier. It was like 50-something or 60. I mean, he played a lot, and he played great. Sione Taki.
He did.
He had like 16 tackles.
Did he?
Something like that. Mike,
he had 16 tackles. Steve, take 97.
Was it 16?
Please. Yeah, 97.
He was all over the place. And,
I knew he played well. I didn't realize he had 16.
I didn't know he had 16 tackles.
16 tackles. JOK had 11 tackles.
Yeah.
The Jets, like you mentioned, ran a ton of screen passes, a ton of underneath throws. They tried to run the ball with minimal success outside of a couple Breece Hall runs. But defensively, this is 3 games in a row. You go back to Chicago.
Yeah.
Didn't really allow a touchdown in Chicago. The only 2 touchdowns Chicago scored were on a pick six and on a gift wrapped 1-yard touchdown. Against Houston, no touchdowns till garbage time. Their only real points before garbage time was the kick return touchdown. And outside of the opening drive last night, they completely held the Jets in check.
6 other points, and 3 of them, 6 other offensive points, and 3 of them were in garbage time.
You know what? But the thing I did like about Ronnie Hickman is they figured out that Garrett Wilson was the only weapon that they had. So they kept putting Hickman on the side of Garrett Wilson, and he was being like a over-the-top safety.
Right.
And he was robbing the inward breaking routes, which was really good. Go Bucks, by the way. And, what I like about him is at Ohio State, he was used as like an adjuster, as a adjuster safety, meaning he could play – he could be in the box. He could be in the post. Like, he had a bunch of responsibilities. And it really showed his versatility with the Cleveland Browns because now this is a guy that you could play in the box, but you could also put him in the post. He could do everything, which is very hard to do at safety, being able to do both.
How did this guy go on?
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you the same.
I don't think he tested well because at Ohio State he was really good. He kind of reminded me a lot of myself. He made big plays. I think he must have not tested well. He was a leader.
You'd think being an Ohio State guy and playing well at Ohio State would count for something.
I went undrafted.
Well, this guy's a player, and even I'm drawing a blank on who's the veteran safety that played last night too?
Deron Harmon.
Deron Harmon. He made some plays too. And everybody that plays on that defense contributes.
Well, Jim Schwartz does a great job of.
Alex Wright's playing really well.
He had a sack.
3 sacks now in the last 3 games.
He's playing really well.
They're protect. Did you know? I'm sure you noticed. They're protecting Denzel still.
Mm-hmm. He didn't play.
He's not playing a lot of snaps. He's only in on passing downs.
Yep.
Right.
And so I'm a little bit concerned about that. I mean, he's got a couple more weeks.
I think his shoulder is not. It's
sure.
obviously
It's
not.
the shoulder.
But he wants to be out there to get his rhythm.
But he did throw it. He threw it.
It was like the goal line.
Yep.
He did.
Yep.
I think maybe that was his test. Like,
I thought that was a good sign that he at least lowered his shoulder and got into Brees a little bit on that touchdown.
And that fourth down stop when Simeon tried the quarterback sneak, was
that Elliott that did that?
It was Elliott that made that play, and he's played well. That took the last of the life out of the Jets, that play.
Which is funny because G. Bush was over Elliott, and he's come back and had a good season.
We've all come back around. I asked this question on the postgame show. I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah.
Despite all the injuries to this Browns defense, there has never been a catastrophic drop-off from a starter down. Now, the only time you can make the case was when Denzel Ward went out against Denver and St. Louis, against the Rams.
That was a big deal.
LA. But they didn't get torched in the passing game.
Well,
it felt worse than the numbers actually indicated.
Let's be fair, Mike. Let's be fair. Sorry to cut you off, but I'm going to cut you off. The defense hasn't been destroyed by injuries like the offense has.
True.
No, that's fair, but they still have lost Delpit for an extended period of time, and you have guys who came in, just like Ronnie Hickman, who you mentioned, Harmon. You lose Agbo on the outside, and Alex Wright now has 3 sacks in 3 games. You lose Anthony Walker. Taki comes in and has 16 tackles. And, Denzel Ward against Denver and the Rams was an issue. And I'm not saying it wasn't, but there really hasn't been a noticeable drop-off in most of these situations.
Even though Denzel went out, though, it was some positive light that came out of that. You found out about Cam Mitchell. I mean, that guy, G-New had to slide out outside, which before then we was like, oh, G-New can't play outside. And he actually started getting picks from out there.
His game has gotten better.
Yeah,
Mike's right. They definitely – listen, they've been devastated by injuries on the offense.
Yes.
On defense, they've had a normal amount.
They've lost some key.
But everybody loses some guys.
They've lost some key guys, but not the guy.
No.
That's the difference.
Right.
They lost some guys, but not the guy.
Right. Myles Garrett has been a little limited by his – but I feel like the injury's not affecting him as much anymore.
Not anymore.
And, Ward still got a little ways to go, as you said. Yeah. Hopefully by the playoffs he'll be closer to 100%. So they've been a little limited, but I mean they haven't been destroyed. The Browns' injuries on offense are just absurd.
Yeah, they've lost every good guy that they've had.
Yeah.
At some point this season.
But I mean, the defense after that first drive played as they always do, outstanding football. And the way Flacco is playing and the way the defense is playing, there's no reason they can't beat any team in the NFL.
As long as our kicker makes the kicks. Which after he missed that first kick out, I wasn't really down like that because D-Hop missed extra points too.
By the way, everybody when they went for it after he misses the extra point, and then the Browns get the ball back after the turnover, after the fumble.
I said tells you everything you need to know.
Well, I don't know that
No, Kevin addressed
he likes going for it.
He addressed it after the game.
Yeah, what did I didn't hear that.
What he said was they asked him, did you not kick the field goal because you were worried that he wouldn't make it because he missed the first? He said no. He said the reason that he went for it is because he liked the situation. If they didn't get he said he liked his play call. He said if I wasn't 100% confident in my play call, I would have kicked the field goal. But I liked the play call that I had called. I thought it would work, and I was okay with our defense because at worst case we'll get the ball back at the 50.
That's it.
That's
First of
what
all,
he said.
now let's be honest. If he didn't trust Riley Patterson, he's not going to admit that.
But he has said that before.
But I believe that because that's what people always forget. They go, take the points, take the point. I hate take the points.
Well,
people.
the reason I wanted the points is because it was still only a 6-point game.
I'm normally not. I was take the points.
Take the points.
I had no problem.
At least make it a 2-possession
Coming
game.
out, it was a big momentum swing. You get the turnover. You got to get something out of that turnover.
I hear you. I had no problem with it because when you're playing a bad offensive team as the Jets are, to put them in that situation when they start inside the 10, it puts you in a good spot.
Either way.
I don't mind that, even if it doesn't work. I think the downside's very low with that.
It became the Hickman pick 6, right?
Yes.
Because when they didn't convert, and then the Jets got the ball back, and Hickman picked it anyway.
Right.
So it worked out. But I didn't like it at the time. Normally, I'm with you. Go for it. I wanted the points there just because you want to keep the momentum. But he has answered that way before.
Yes.
Sometimes he'll say, I love the play call we have. And there's other times where he said, I didn't like what we had. I didn't like the play call. So I believe that answer. But it's always funny to me, well, if you don't like a play call, why is it on the sheet? Like, I've never understood that part.
Weird. Maybe in that situation
maybe,
you didn't like it.
Maybe you thought it would work, but when you got into the game, maybe that guy was balling. You was like, I don't really want to attack that guy.
By the way, that fourth down throw, that was the play where Flacco yelled at Tillman.
Yeah.
He was pissed after that.
One more name that we have to give some kudos to, and I want to throw it back. When the Browns played the 49ers in Week 6, I was like, how do you figure out how to stop Brock Purdy? And I was like, well, he throws a lot of tip passes. And I mentioned Shelby Harris as a guy who gets his hand up. He led the Browns in tip passes, and it was only 2 at that time. But I was like, this guy throughout his career has been really good.
Oh, I told you that.
Another blocked kick.
Yeah.
Another batted pass. He's 3rd in the NFL in batted passes this season with like 300 fewer snaps than the leaders.
Yeah.
And once again last night, Shelby Harris proving why
he did a
one
great
of the more
job.
underrated signings of maybe.
I think it was a bad kick by Zerline. It wasn't very high.
It was a little low.
But it was still a nice hell of a play.
Mike, you're right. It's one of the most underrated signings that we don't talk about. He's one of those on the margins guys like Ronnie Hickman, like D'Anthony Bell the year before. Like, those are rookies. This
Maurice Hurst.
A little bit. Yeah. But these are guys that no one really talked about. It was a 1-year deal. He's just
done
a
a
name.
great job.
He's been phenomenal.
Whoa. I talked about it.
I told
you. I played with Shelby in Denver, and I said the one thing I liked about Shelby is I think he was either 1st or 2nd on that team in PBUs as a defensive tackle, which is a very underrated stat. And even though that was, 4 years ago, he still got that skill set, and it's going to come up a lot, especially when you go against some of them smaller quarterbacks. Matching that ball and getting that hand up
Is it
and
just the
knocking
time? Why are some guys better at the night?
I don't know why Shelby's so good at that. It is. He gets that pushback, and he just throw that hand up and get in that window. I don't know how he does it. It's really remarkable, and it's really a skill set that's really going to help him extend his career even longer because that's some of the best don't even do that. Aaron Donald might not do it to the success that Shelby does.
I wonder if part of it is, that's got to hurt when that ball hits you in the hand.
Not really.
They got gloves on.
Yeah, not really.
That's a bear paw he's throwing up.
Yeah.
You don't even feel it.
2 other special teams things real quick. I thought the punter did a great job.
Yeah.
He's fine.
He was totally fine. I got no problem there. How about the punt where Prochet lets it roll and it barely got to the goal? He got lucky.
I don't know how the Jets didn't get down there. I thought they should have been down there.
I'm going to tell you why. The dude, whoever the gunner was, he slowed down because he didn't want – I don't know why he slowed down, but he slowed down to look at it, and then he tried to tap it. You got to run through that and just swipe
that was
at
close.
it.
Yeah.
You got to dive and swipe at that thing. But he slowed down, and it gave it just enough time to touch the white.
Barely hit the goal line.
But, great job by the Jets punter because he dropped that at like the 5 or the 3, and it spun. Because I've said this before, the rule used to be put your heels on the 15 and anything that goes over your head, you let it go. That's not the rule anymore. These guys are catching fair catches now inside the 10 because of exactly what we saw last night.
Yeah. Good job. Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to get our next winning FanDuel ticket in here because this is another doozy. And if you have a winning FanDuel ticket, make sure you send it to us on Twitter or email it to me at mlucas2@tegna.com. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. This next winning ticket comes from Philip Wilcoxon, who had a Kareem Hunt anytime touchdown, a Cleveland defense anytime touchdown, Joe Flacco alternate passing yards over 300, Jerome Ford over 25 rushing yards, and David Njoku over 50 receiving yards. It would have been even higher if an Amari Cooper anytime touchdown didn't get voided, but he bet $6.50, won $736.88, turning $650 into $737. Shout out to Philip Wilcoxon for that winning FanDuel ticket. He had a Kareem Hunt anytime rushing touchdown on there, and it hit. And guys,